Hello and welcome to our inaugural episode for Book Game Spectator. But before we even dive into what that even means or how we might think about approaching that, I thought I'd like to set the table by kind of framing out who I am in relation to the blockchain and cryptocurrency markets. I am your host, Michael T, and let's crack right into it. So, this channel stems from an outpouring of me as a content consumer, first and foremost. So, what does that mean? In my personal life and in my professional life, I am a content consumer and a content curator. So what does that mean specifically? Well, let me walk you through that using a visual representation. This right here is my first cryptocurrency slash blockchain playlist, my original crypto digest. So when I think about the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, it's contextualized through a lens of the content that I consume. As a content consumer, I'm piecing together this information from this wide tapestry of sources and kind of making an attempt to assimilate it. On that journey, we found that curating content actually helps us kind of understand our consume digest just a little bit more, but we've also found that it provides a benefit of kind of showing a roadmap for how we got to any given place based on the content that we've consumed. So we're starting right here with an origin story. How do I think about the blockchain markets, etc.? Well, I remember I first got into it around, let's say 2017, 2018, maybe 8 months before that first blow off top at 21,000. I was like, yo, the halving's coming in terms of Bitcoin. Oh my goodness, what's going on? Yo, that's crazy. And I'm doing a double take. I'm double backing in time like, oh, I should have seen it earlier. Yo, what was going on? Oh, dang, how much capital do I have to work with? Oh, what's going on? And you try to work with the capital that you have in that context. And I was really grateful for kind of charting out some of my entries and my exits, especially as the novice that I was in that context. So push up a little bit forward, you kind of forget about it. You're like, oh my goodness, oh yeah, had that experience, but like, eh, you know, yeah, it'll be there, right? And so that kind of occurred for me, and then okay, so what happened next? I guess eventually I had enough capital to work with where I was able to say, okay, well, oh my goodness, well we saw what happened last market cycle. Like let's actually like take a moment to dive in, to jump in to these markets to kind of see what's going on and get a handle on it. So, based on my personal background, I really love and appreciate the abstraction that is technical analysis. When it comes to the question of psychological types or just the differences in people's psyche, I'm always think about that, that fundamental analysis versus technical analysis debate, and that's fascinating for me because I find myself on the technical analysis side, like yo, what's going on with the charts? Oh, like whoa, what's happening there? To what extent can you kind of view it as a science versus as an art form, etc. And so right around that first market cycle, let's say 2018, that's when I started saying, okay, well, okay, Bitcoin, okay, search term Bitcoin, okay, the halving, okay, right? But also as a content consumer, I guess one pro tip out there is if you go into the search and then okay, let's do it as an active example. Okay, let's say blockchain markets. Okay, let's dive into it. We're gonna put in quotes, blockchain markets. In terms of content, it's like, okay, how do you find content as an aggregator? Um, we work to explore the content consumption landscape from a myriad of different positions. In many respects, we've distilled it into 5 distinct consumption channels. The first being super served via the algorithm. The second being receiving a edge or a link in terms of a video being recommended to you from a friend or maybe a person on the internet. The third being your subscription box itself. The fourth being search, which is where we're at right now in terms of YouTube as a cybernetic ecology. And then the fifth as your own personal library in terms of the playlists that you might add, maybe your own personal videos, playlists saved, and then the sixth being your watch history. So right now we're in search, and it's like, okay, so how do we even navigate this? What was the point of this as an example? Well, for me, when I was trying to figure it out, I definitely did not search blockchain markets. It was probably something like crypto or Bitcoin specifically. Okay, let's go with Bitcoin halving. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we wanted to show uh, this example of, okay, we're using quotes, right? Consuming content. Okay, are you including the linguistic point plane vector, the keyword itself, or are you using quotes? That's an important distinction even as we move into semantic search. But okay, so it's like, okay, sorting through there, it may or may not be valuable, but really what I wanted to show you was one of the best tricks that I've used to find content of relevance once you've isolated that keyword of choice is just changing the filter to upload date. It really cuts through the I was gonna say RHLF, but the kind of the what is going on here? How do they even, at this point, regular search is like being super served via the algorithm as opposed to like you actually getting sort of your keyword intent, but also, yeah, also changing it over 20. That way you can get a little bit more in-depth culture commentary. Okay, so we showed an example. Okay, this is kind of what I do as a content consumer, some of the tips and tricks. Now let's double back. How did we start this process? Well, as you can see through this digest, this playlist is a dynamic playlist sorted by date added oldest. So this is kind of really one of the best chronological visualizations of how I've approached these markets. Now we start off, okay, your main content pillars. We're going into, okay, not your keys, not your crypto. So you want to get your own wallet. Keep on going. Okay, what Bitcoin did. Great culture commentary resources. FedWatch. Fantastic content from Bitcoin Magazine from the years 2000 and what was that? 2019, 2021, or 2022. Continue. Okay, and this is crucial because for me as a market participant, I think to myself, okay, well, how do I even orient myself? So for me, I've oriented myself primarily in relation to the content that I consume. And this is just a visual representation of some of the content from 3 years ago that kind of helped me on my journey. So I figured I'd share that with you. The link will be in the video description. And if you find anything of value, you can leave a comment on the comments dash channel if there's a static video anchor playlist. Now, I'm highlighting this because, yeah, that process of search is actually how we arrived at some of our most impactful content creators, specifically Benjamin Cowan in, at Into the Cryptoverse, specifically The Modern Investor, daily culture commentary aggregation on the blockchain and cryptocurrency markets, Eric Crown Crypto, and Crypto Savvy for technical analysis content. Also, Crypto Zombie for a very holistic approach to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency culture commentary. And so, yeah, just scrolling through, this was my consume digest. This was kind of how I first started to orient myself in terms of how I relate to the blockchain and the cryptocurrency markets. What am I seeing? What am I understanding? How does it relate to the technical analysis of the marketplace? And can I draw any associations and build upon that knowledge over time? And it's actually been a while since I've went back to kind of consume some of this content, so I'm kind of enjoying this as a process flow. Really, really classic content, mixing technical analysis with blockchain culture commentary, with up-to-date news from various different sources and aspect ratios. What I like about this content creator, specifically the modern investor, is that every single day they're going through news articles. So as a content consumer, that's extraordinarily valuable to be able to have that as a long run um, consume digest to be able to look through historically. Similarly with Eric Crown Crypto and their approach to technical analysis. When you get into different distinctions, fundamental versus technical, you're like, oh my goodness, which one's more empirical, you might say, which one is more validated, more useful for you and your own psychological standpoint. We really appreciate Eric's ability to kind of cut through maybe your own preconceived notions to really focus on the statistics and the data. Similarly to Benjamin Cowan providing a macro overlook in terms of the blockchain markets, especially with his work on what is it called? Risk, his risk metric. Oh, and also Van Tharp has been extraordinarily impactful for me in terms of risk management. That's something I had to learn the hard way uh, in terms of trading, things like that. Oh my goodness, I'll just freehand it, stuff like that. And so that is going to be where we wrap up. This is kind of our origin story for how we kind of relate to the cryptocurrency markets as a whole. In our next entry, we'll go into how I got started book game spectating. What NFTs even mean to me in terms of my overall cryptocurrency digest and how I relate to the markets in that context. Stay tuned.